Got it.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cool villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another Parisian episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. Je m'appelle Bob, and I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 465, recorded Sunday, March 3rd, 2024, and tonight we're talking about the winner of the March poll, which was As Above, So Below. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randeezy. What's up, man?
What's going on, children?
How we doing, Bob? We holding it down there? You guys staying warm in all this cold weather?
I'm staying cold, staying warm, holding it up, down, left, right, every which way.
That's
I'm
right.
doing it all.
That's
baby.
the proper response. This is
doing it all.
As above, so below day. We got to go both sides on this one.
Yeah, it's already hitting like 80 down here. It's crazy.
God damn.
It's insane. And it rained all day today. So that was actually kind of pleasant. Pulled it off a little bit. Last but not least, calling in from Seoul, South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, bonjour, mon frère. It's your boy, Tash de Soju.
What do you think I have this outrageous accent?
Apparently, stains in French is Tash, T-A-C-H-E.
Ooh, cash me, daddy.
Which, of course, I knew because I'm fluent in French, as you could tell.
Oh, are we adding to the lore today? Is that what's happening?
As you can tell.
Adding to the deep Soju lore. There needs to be a fucking character Bible for all the shit you say.
Yes, there should be. Good. Let's get on that.
Yeah.
Available next month on the Straight Chillin' store.
Next week, tomorrow, available now. Buy it on our website. The Very Deep Soju Bible.
696 pages of
Calling
lore.
it Dianetics Part 2, the Soju Chronicle.
Yeah.
696. Your Lord and Savior. Join now for a very low price.
It's so low.
It's so low. So low.
Christianity.
Be low. Before we get into the main event, let's tackle a little bit of housekeeping here, boys. So we're in a new month. We are obviously talking about the winner of the March poll tonight. That means our April poll is currently posted on our Patreon website. And if you support us at the $5 level or above, you get a chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this April. And the theme for this April, well, boys, the fucking machines hacked us. The AI took over our shit.
They're taking over. Pretty
Taking
soon we
over
won't even
everything.
need to cast anymore.
That's the dream. But
Plug
we'll
our
still be
bill.
raking in all these hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
recorded enough episodes that the machines can just take over. They've got our likeness, our voices,
Oh my God.
our
We stand
personalities.
no chance. Yes.
Hundreds of hours of our inane babbling.
You know, the good side of that,
free.
though, for whatever it's worth, is that we can also blame everything we've ever done on the AI. So
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
never really here.
And we'll live
Yeah.
forever.
We don't exist.
boy, this got real.
Yeah.
We'll be casting in the
anyway.
next 500 years.
Fucking Chat GPT and Midjourney took over our poll for the month. We're calling this one AI Cruel Fools because we're clever boys, aren't we?
Whoa.
So we got 3 movies you're voting on, and the plot synopses are generated by Chat GPT. We don't have the titles for you because the posters were also generated by Midjourney, and the titles are all scrambled up, so we don't even know what the movies are.
What?
You guys don't even know what
Jesus
you're voting
Christ.
on. It's fucking insanity out here this month. It's
What?
straight showing. It's
Oh, man.
insane. I do have the synopses as provided by the robots that I can read for you guys, and we'll see how
Please
the
do,
vote's
Bob.
looking.
Make sure to have
So-
that robot cadence now.
Random film number 1. In a dystopian future, an enigmatic figure is sent back in time on a mysterious mission, creating chaos and uncertainty as individuals attempt to decipher the true purpose behind the unfolding events.
Nice.
Nice.
There you go.
Uh,
Random film number 2. In a bizarre turn of events, a small town finds itself caught in a series of escalating challenges, forcing the community to confront an unexpected and increasingly intense struggle for survival.
Whoa.
wow. That's
And
so
Rick-
vague.
That sounds
I
like
know.
Megan to me.
That's-
Yeah. Fucking
I think that sounds
Megan.
like Forrest Gump.
Not the movie, but a person named Megan that we know.
that sounds like my
just
good
like
friend
her.
Megan.
No 3 in her name. Random film option number 3. A charismatic stranger enters the life of a seemingly ordinary person, blurring the lines between friendship and obsession as dark and unexpected events unfold in their relationship.
Man, that's
Mm.
just the soju story. It sounds like.
I know.
It's
That's
every
just
day of my
me and
life.
Bob.
I see it every
The
day.
new documentary coming out next month. Right on the Straight Chillin'
That's-
store.
A soju story. Buy it now for $690,069.69.
For that, sold.
So we do have some votes in already for this, and it looks like random film option number 2 is winning at 67% of the votes.
Whoa. People are really
And-
drawn to that Mid-Journey poster.
Yeah. And random film options number 1 and 3 are tied at 17% each.
Interesting. Yeah.
We have to defeat the AI overlords now, people. So get your votes in.
And you gotta
And-
help us.
You must help us. God damn it.
You have to. If you don't, we're all Will Smith and iRobot, and we're fucked. Unless you got a
Oh,
motorcycle.
We're
you
mediocre.
I don't have a robot hand or a motorcycle. I'm fucked. Okay. Get your votes in before the end of March. We'll see what movie we're talking about this April. In other Patreon news, we're dropping mini casts every other Friday. Just dropped one this past Friday on Suitable Flesh. I was talking about that. The latest from Joe Lynch, currently on Shudder. Super weird, H.P. Lovecraftian type shit. Super horny. Barb Crampton. Check it out. Next one we're going to be dropping on the 15th, Friday the 15th of this month. This is one from Rand Deasy talking about something a little bit different here. Inscription, a video
That's right.
game. Is that
A
right?
What?
Ninja game. Yes, that's what the
Mm.
children call them. Yes,
Mm.
it's a video game, an indie game, as a matter of fact, that came out, and
Whoa.
I talked about at length on Slack with some of our dear sweet listeners and children. So I look forward to that. That's I recorded that a little while ago, so I'm pretty excited to hear it drop,
We got a
or
backlog.
at least know that
now.
it has dropped. I
Yeah,
know.
we got some in the can, because we're
Yeah, we did.
professionals who just rely on AI now. We don't do shit. So we're set.
Review this film for me, AI.
Have you heard of our podcast?
In the style of Rand Deasy from Straight Chilling. Go.
I don't think it's allowed to say all those words.
Oh God.
Hello, children, says the robot.
Watch profanity.
I like that. So yeah, check out all those minicasts over on Patreon. We got 123, I believe, minicasts already
Damn.
available for you now. And that's available at the $10 level or above. So if you join right now, you immediately have 123 minicasts that you can listen to on your podcatcher of choice. So you don't have to listen to those just on Patreon. That is a lot of extra shit for your ear holes. So
It's a
check it
lot.
out.
Thanks a lot.
Speaking of brand new Patreon members, we do have mad shouts outs we got to give.
Oh hell yes.
A big, gigantic thank you to Mason W for signing up on Patreon and showing us some love. Every dollar you guys contribute does go right back into the show. It helps us keep this train rolling. And as is tradition around these here parts, we owe you the Straight Chilling salute. This one goes out to Mason.
Slap my ass.
Thanks, Mason.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mason.
Appreciate that ass slap, bud. Keep them coming.
Appreciate
Keep
that
those.
ass.
Well,
Yeah.
Slap, of course.
that goes without
Oh,
saying.
yeah. All of it. All of it.
There's a Zoom delay here.
Oh, Blaming the robots again. It's always the robots.
It's all
fault.
their fault.
About to get HR Randy on your ass. Straighten you out, son.
I'm hiring an HR bot. That shit's exhausting.
Fantastic. One more piece of Patreon news actually. We are reopening the You Pick the Flick tier for the second quarter of the year on Sunday, March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day. And this is the only way for you guys to outright pick a movie for us to review on the show. There's only 5 spots available. They go pretty quickly. And we do open that in an undisclosed time of day. So you'll just have to check our Patreon website throughout the course of and throughout the course of the day, and only if you're British, you'll be able to see it clearly.
Yes.
So Godspeed.
You know, it's
everybody
their
in the
turn.
UK.
On
so
St.
Mark-
Patrick's Day, we might get some sloppy picks.
I like them extra sloppy.
I know you do.
You know?
You know.
It's never stopped us before, so
Yeah. Start drinking your green beer and your Irish car bombs. You gotta have a minimum of 3 Irish car bombs before you can get a U pick. That's
At
the rules.
least.
The AI, the bots made the rules, not us. So I'm sorry.
let's
Um,
let's encourage people to overdrink this St. Patty's
first
Day.
thing in the morning.
This is why we
Straight
need that
chilling
HR
is
bot.
not responsible for any.
for your dumbass mistakes. Godspeed. Mark your calendar. Sunday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, opening the You Pick the Flip here. That is officially all I got. You boys have anything?
My
Not a
house is
damn
clean.
thing.
All right. Let's get into the main event. We're talking As Above, So Below, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Whoa! Throwback.
Throwback for no reason. I don't know why
That's
that happened.
awesome. Hey, you know what? That's all right.
For a second, I thought I did something wrong. I was like, how did I fuck up?
I was
Oh, thank God.
I was like, wait, that's not. Oh, whoa, throwback. Whoa.
Oh, it's the robot. The robot
This is what you
did
get for reorganizing the goddamn sound bump files.
Whoa.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, do you have this box? Is it like old school DVD or what is this? What?
I have failed you. I
Bob.
don't own this.
Oh my
I
God.
know.
Is it
This
is
has
it
releases,
tough?
right?
Is it tough to find?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's. I honestly didn't even look. I just
You
didn't
don't
have it.
know?
Yeah, I
Bob, you
had
didn't
to
even
wa-
consider buying it?
I
Hold
had
on,
such
we need to have an
limited
emergency
time.
moment here.
Where did Bob go wrong? Were he and his friends sifting way too long through those Blu-ray bins? And it gets worse. He'll have no jet ski, wasting all his dough on those DVDs.
I like how I get spit roasted by the two of you, no matter what. If I have it, if I don't have it, fucking spit
Bob,
roasted.
somehow you haven't wasted enough money on Blu-rays.
What is my problem? Please save me, guys. Save me from myself. I don't know. I didn't even bother looking because the poll closed and I had to watch it like that day, and small window.
Oh
whatever.
yeah, I thought we were watching Hellraiser News, boys.
Same. Turns out we weren't. I'm pretty sure it's out there on Blu-ray though. I believe I've seen it around, so I think it's easy to get from. We're talking As Above, So Below. Came out 2014. This movie's a fucking decade old already, which is insane
God damn.
to think. Rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 33 minutes. This was written and directed by John Eric Dowdle. It stars Perdita Weeks, Ben Feldman, Edwin Hodge, some other lovely folks. Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. When a team of explorers venture into the catacombs that lie beneath the streets of Paris, they uncover the dark secret that lies within this city of the dead. Gentlemen, have you seen this movie before, and would you recommend folks check it out? Ramdeezy, kick us off.
Yes, I have seen this before. I think just the once, if I'm not mistaken, and it was probably only a handful of years after its release on streaming. And yeah, I would generally recommend it. This is one that ends up on a lot of lists of various description. I see this title listed on all kinds of listicles, mostly things like found footage, underseen found footage films, that sort of stuff. So take that with you as a deciding factor if that's something that you're interested in, like I am with found footage. And also lesser known films from that decade that really bring a little bit of heat. So yeah, I would generally recommend it. I think that if you're not into found footage, or if you specifically don't like found footage, probably not this one, because this one kind of falls into a lot of samey stuff that happens and was happening in that time for found footage. So you're going to get the same mileage as just about a half dozen other films if you're not into it.
Right on. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I generally would recommend this one. Yeah, kind of to echo Randy, it's weird to go back and look at it because it is kind of shocking to find out that it's 10 years old, which is around, so it came out around when the podcast got started, interestingly enough. I think it's one of the first horror movies I saw in theaters because I was only 13 when it came out. So,
Totally.
I was just kind of sneaking into the theater back then.
Oh,
You want-
yes.
That lore is available for sale next week.
Buy it now.
But yeah,
Was this in theaters? I don't remember this being in theaters.
It must have been because I watched
I
it
think
when I was
so.
13.
Oh,
For sure.
But no,
Okay,
it does feel interesting because of its the found footageness of it all. It now looking back, it feels dated. And something I'm going to talk about a little bit later is the idea that like this could be remade today with the kind of like liminal space stuff that's going on. So we'll talk about that later. But I still think you know what it kind of reminded me of this time around was Hell House LLC, where it just kind of felt like an experience, kind of felt like going along in this kind of experience, and it's fun for that. So yeah, I would generally recommend. Bob, how about you? Would you recommend people check this out?
how much do you hate this film?
I got to restart because I got crazy delay out of nowhere. Give me
You
just a
said,
minute.
Juice, you said it. You jinxed us.
Well, that happens every week though. So
Oh boy.
where did Bob go
So-
wrong?
Well, I don't know. I'll get to Bob in a second. Like, where did it cut out, or did it cut out? Or
Well,
did he
no, I
just-
think it doesn't cut out. That's why he waited till I finish, because it's his speaking. He gets a really bad delay in his
Right, okay.
ears. If he just, cut that feedback anyways and just, didn't require to hear himself in his own headphones, then.
Sure. Yeah, that's better. That's
All right.
good.
Cool.
That's why I
She was
can't
gorgeous.
I can't hardly stand to have myself in my ears. That's why I wear earbuds so I can hear my natural voice.
Really?
Like,
I don't.
I
I
can't.
guess I don't have my voice in there.
No,
I'm
yeah, I don't.
so used to it now. When it's
I
not
don't
there,
like
it's
it.
weird.
Even when me and Bob used to record stuff, I would never want to. I want to just hear my natural voice. I don't want, because even the slightest bit of delay just fucks me up. And it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. So
Yeah, I didn't. I don't know. I guess I hadn't really given it much thought in like 10 years
yeah.
about whether or not
Tight.
I hear my own voice. That's good.
You guys ready? I can just
Yep.
roll
Yeah.
it and just
So
start.
you just threw it to you,
talking.
Bob.
Yeah, yeah. All right, here we go. Yeah, I think this is a light recommend from me. I think it's got a lot of cool stuff going for it, and it's got some problems. I don't know that it's like one of my favorite found footage movies, but there's certainly worse found footage movies out there. So don't get it twisted. Yeah, I think it's you can check it out if you're into found footage. Definitely worth watching. So, general recommendation, I guess, across the board here from Straight Sean.
I
Mhm.
think you're the
Right.
only one with qualms.
You're the only dissenter, Bob.
I have dissented.
Don't touch me.
Don't do it. All right, we are going to spoil the shit out of this movie, and here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
I didn't know if we were going retro or not. I didn't know if
I
we were
didn't either,
flipping it up.
What's
Bob,
Trust me,
happening?
it's always a surprise, even to me.
Bob, you got that plot synopsis?
I do.
right.
Join me on this ride here, fellas.
I want you to describe every corridor exactly as it.
They all look so different, too.
They
It's
take
gonna
a
take
right
forever.
and then a left and then
Oh.
down the tunnel and then
We need to map the path to hell.
Then there's a well, and then another well. All right, here we go. Scarlett Marlowe is a young scholar continuing her late father's search for the Philosopher's Stone. The stone was discovered by alchemist Nicholas Flamel and allegedly turns metal into gold and grants eternal life. Scarlett discovers the Rose Key artifact in a cave scheduled for demolition moments before it blows. She then has a vision of her dead father as she narrowly escapes. Scarlett goes to Paris with her cameraman Benji, who's making a documentary of her journeys, and she enlists the help of her friend George, who can speak Aramaic. They use the Rose Key to solve a riddle on Flamel's tombstone that gives them the location of the stone, which is in a restricted area of the Parisian catacombs. While on a tour of the catacombs, a random man tells them to go find another dude named Papillion, and he
Papillon.
can Papillon. I'm just gonna call him Poppy. It's easier.
I'm French.
Just
My
call
boy
him Papillion.
Papillion.
Papillon.
to take them through the more treacherous parts of the catacombs. They find him and he agrees to help along with his friends Susie and Zed. The group enter the caves as the cops chase them. They pass by a group of singing female cultists, which apparently represents the condemned souls of the first vestibule of hell. They crawl through a very small tunnel that ends up collapsing behind them, and they inexplicably end up right back in the same place they started. This forces them to enter a tunnel my boy Pappy is afraid of. People who enter don't return, and this includes his friend known as the Mole. They haven't seen him in years. They enter and very quickly find the Mole, who shouldn't be alive and is acting a little weird. He says the only way out is down. They find Flamel's tomb with a bunch of treasure and the Philosopher's Stone as well. Scarlett takes the stone, and as the others raid the treasure, it triggers a trap and the ceiling caves in. Scarlett heals Susie's arm with the stone. They find a hidden tunnel in the floor that leads to a doorway that says, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," which is the same as the entrance to hell in Dante's Inferno. On the other side, they find a mirror image of the room they were just in. The Mole is still alive, and he kills Susie. One of the singing women jump scares the shit out of Benji, and he falls down a hole to his death. My boy Poppy is stuck. He's sucked into a burning car by some sort of ghosty, who turns out to be the same guy that told Scarlett to find Poppy at the beginning of the movie. George gets his throat ripped open, and Scarlett tries to heal it with a stone, but it doesn't work. She realizes she's stolen the wrong stone and has to return it to get the right stone. She returns the stone and finds a mirror next to it that lets her realize that the power of the stone is within her, and she races back to George and ends up healing him with a kiss. She sees the ghost of her father again and apologizes for not picking up his call the night he killed himself. We're now left with George, Zed, and Scarlett. They found a deep-ass hole, and Scarlett explains they must all confess past sins and then take a leap of faith down the hole. George turns out failed to save his drowning brother. Zed has a bastard child that he does not claim. And we already know Susie didn't, or Scarlett didn't pick up the call when her father was planning to kill himself. They all end up jumping down the hole, and they survive the landing. They find a manhole cover that must be pushed down, and they crawl out. They're now on a normal-ass Paris street holding each other, and in a closing follow-up of Scarlett, she says she never wanted any material treasure. She only wanted the truth. Roll credits.
No, she's been traumatized. Is she okay?
She's okay. She's going to be fine. Totally
She's
fine.
gonna be fine. I love the ending when what's his name, Zed? He just kind of they do a group hug and they're clearly all traumatized, and he just kind of traumatizedly walks away.
Later. I want to get the fuck away from that
Okay,
hole
bye.
too. I gotta
I'm going
go.
to. I would immediately be like, "You guys want to go to Denny's or some shit?" Wait, well, let's debrief of what the fuck just happened.
Paris
sad
has so many
breakfast.
Denny's.
You guys are no strangers to
That would be the
Parisian
that would be
breakfast.
the ultimate sad
That's
breakfast.
how you know you're true friends. If you had a sad ass breakfast at Denny's together. That's
I'm pretty sure that's Notre Dame in the back. So I like the
Is it?
idea that Notre Dame is like on the kind of gate of hell, which is kind of
Okay, yeah.
interesting aspect of it. They don't really touch on. It's not important. I just thought it was kind of cool.
Now,
One thing about this movie that I forgot, I've seen this a few times, but it's been a while, and I kind of forgot that this was a sequel to Harry Potter, which was really cool
Oh, wow.
because
JK really cut loose on this
was
one.
down there,
yeah.
and he had his like snake tongue going at Scarlet. It was really weird.
Oh,
Of course, here come the demons.
Damn, Bob went
I
wild
know.
with that shit.
I forgot this was a sequel to Harry Potter. And
That bit delivery was just mwah.
Yeah, it's on point.
I was doing some extra research, and
So,
I
and
found
hell
out
yeah!
that J.K. Rowling actually wrote this script and directed it.
It was
as
actually
well.
co-authored by Baba Booey. Baba Booey.
Totally.
Damn, Randy's keeping it young over there.
I know.
My boy, young Randy. My boy. So
You
Uh,
can only call an old man young, whatever. Like I feel like that's the rule. It's like calling a fat guy slim. Like you got to do it that way. Like
yes.
Slim Young Randy. That's what they call him.
my boy, giant ass old motherfucker Randy. My boy.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I really did forget this kind of lore aspect.
Philosopher's Stone thing.
Yeah, Nicholas Flamel, Philosopher's Stone, which is kind of interesting because it does have some tropes from adventure films, you know, especially the trap doors and the treasures and stuff like that. So it is kind of interesting to have a film that blends those kind of things because, you know, we get a lot of horror comedies, a little bit of horror romance and stuff, but this kind of like horror adventure that's very much in the horror realm and then just has little splashes of like, you know, the adventure tropes. It's kind of interesting.
Well,
I agree.
I love I mean, all the lore stuff, like the way that it's like, I can't tell you for sure how much of this, like I'm no scholar and like, but it seems like they did at least a baseline
Get
level
off
of
the
research on this
show
thing.
now.
And it's
Yeah.
it's like, well, Jesus Christ. But no, like I don't know, like I feel like that all of the stuff lines up with reality to a certain extent, and that adds to things. At least feels that way, and it helps with the immersion, which, you know, I'm an immersion bish, so that helps for me a lot. Yeah, so like coming out of Notre Dame, I didn't notice that, but that's really awesome. I like just utilizing the catacombs, but not necessarily just in like, it's not just the catacombs. They like go beyond it pretty much immediately, and they call it touristy and all this stuff, which it is. Like, I don't know. It really blends reality in quite well. And I agree, like having an adventure, like this is almost like Indiana Jones meets Paranormal Activity. That's an interesting combo to me. And especially when the lore they're using stands up to at least an everyman's scrutiny. You know what I mean? Like it seems legit.
There's I really dig the, you know, we were just talking last week about like horror westerns with Bone Tomahawk, and we even posted a question for the people to call in about like blends that they would like to see, and this is one I think is kind of fucking brilliant because like the idea of going through all these like catacombs or just like ancient ruins in general, there's spooky shit going on. You know, I mean, The Exorcist starts off that way. It kind of has that kind of Indiana Jones type vibe. It lends itself to horror. And I also think that would be a really smart way, maybe not in a found footage movie, but a really smart way to rope in like a larger normie crowd to kind of not just access the horror crowd, but like you could take your kids to go see it or something. Because like who doesn't fucking like Indiana Jones? Everybody likes Indiana Jones, or even those National Treasure type movies. I think the only thing this movie is like, well, maybe not the only thing. One of the things this movie is severely lacking is a super likable character like Indiana fucking Jones. Scarlett is like, I don't know, kind of selfish, also kind of an idiot, also too fucking smart at the same time. I didn't really like her character that much, but I do think the genre blend is awesome. I love it. I would like to see more of it, hopefully down the line. But I don't know. Did you guys think anything similar about Scarlett, or was she just fine?
I did think she was too smart. There were too many convenient moments. And then also too, like to Randy's point, I don't as strongly agree. Generally, I'm okay with it and I like it, but there are some moments where it's like the scarab from ancient Egypt, and we got to count this. They too many times I think they're blending because they're saying like this one is 500 years old, and that's fine. But then they're talking about like ancient Egypt and this one, and I don't know. It's almost a little too blendy. And she knows everything about fucking everything all the time. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. Like, okay, so I guess I'm on the opposite end of the fence there to some degree, because to me, like, her knowing things is set up immediately as being like she's a lifelong daughter of a person who went nuts searching for this thing. She knows 4 fucking languages, or two dead languages. Like, this is not. Of course she's gonna know shit, and especially
she's
because
gonna
like,
know shit, but she's also like 25. Like, I don't know, she's young, man. She looks young, anyways. Oh
young.
yeah,
If Doogie
just
Howser
like
can do surgery
Randy,
and nobody
my
bats an
boy,
eye,
my
I
boy,
mean,
young Randy. I mean, that's fine. It's you can pick it
Yeah.
apart or not.
the
But
thing is, like,
yeah,
between her and I forget the name of her counterpart, the guy she ropes in,
George.
but like they both have an expertise. They both are able to do exposition, and they do it kind of quickly and kind of like offhandedly, but still understandably. And I think that works really nicely. I do think that there is quite a bit of a blend, but I also don't know that I like or dislike that, because on the other side of that argument is the idea that this is not a cultural thing they're discovering. This is a metaphysical, mystical
Mm.
thing they're discovering, and it's cross universes. And it was also a trail laid by Nicholas Flamel, who's characterized as like a crazy academic, basically, in his own right. So yeah, he might like do all these weirdo fucking traps using all the lore that was
True.
popular at the time or not traps, but like partially traps
Yeah,
to lead
yeah.
them along. Like, if you're designing one for like the most smart and learned person ever, and you're the most smart and learned person ever, you would draw from whatever was available to you that's like indicative of knowing world history and like just being able to channel all that. So to me, it all kind of like has a reason that you could look to.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's completely contrived to me.
I was a little confused. I'm not confused, like confused as to why it was written this way. I don't know. Maybe you guys got something more out of it than I did, but the ending specifically, I didn't really care for, because like what the stone isn't really doesn't have shit.
That
to
was
do with it. Like,
confusing.
the power comes from within. So like, why is this all hidden if the stone doesn't? I mean, there's gold down there, but it's booby trapped and shit. But like the stone, you got to look in the mirror ball, and then all of a sudden you're powerful.
I have
I
a
didn't
thought.
like that. And then she saves the dude by kissing him. It's just like kind of a hand wavy kind of ending, like you found your dream power, man, kind of thing. I didn't really like that.
Yeah, I'm of two minds about it. Juice, you seem to you were gonna chime in. Sorry.
Well, I think in some way too, it's to like separate the idea of they can't take the stone with them, which of course you could have some collapse or people chasing you, you drop it, and that's fine. Yeah, it's not the strongest ending or whatever, but like one of the first things when they get stuck in that situation is I was thinking, why aren't you? If the stone like can protect you and has some powers, wouldn't you be sucking that shit down immediately after you get it? I'd be like, give me some of that, especially after you healed the arm and you're like, okay, we might be in hell. I don't know where we are, but we're not in a good place. And she mentions that it could keep torches burning forever, and they're worried about their headlamps and stuff. I'm like, I would at least be trying to use it in several ways.
Somebody put it in your butt.
Yeah, I don't know,
Blow your
man. Like,
butt up.
I think that like I partially agree, but not necessarily for the same reasons. Like, I feel like the ending, like I like each part as a vignette. Like, I like when they come across an what do you call it? Like decomposed corpse that looks like a crusader.
Yeah,
700
Could
years
be,
old or
could be
whatever.
Nicholas Flamel himself.
Yeah.
We don't know.
That
His
is
body's
cool,
his body's missing. Like, I like shit like that. I like that they have to push up on
That's
the
really,
manhole.
I
and shit.
love
Like,
that ending. Yeah.
Individual moments like that are really awesome, and I kind of like the tether between them is a little bit loose. Like, I agree with you. Like, as far as like the way the power is understood in this, it's not defined well enough, and they are trying to define it pretty well. So I think that is something of a failure. But like, if you the way I understood it when it was happening, because I had forgotten all this, and this is on the second viewing, it was basically fresh for me. And I'm like watching this go down, and I'm like, well, if the idea is that you put back the stone, you make apologies for or whatever, like you reckon with yourself and your sins, like I guess that's sort of saying like, you're in hell, you have to go down into hell to get this thing, then you have to absolve yourself of the things you've done, like you might to not go to hell in the first place, and then you have power that the devil can't control. And I think if that's the case, then all she has to do is be like, it's based on my belief and what I believe, and I believe there's stairs right over there that's going to take us right back out to Paris, and nobody can follow us. That's what I believe, and there will be stairs there. Like, I thought that was kind of where it was going, and it still is like them fumbling through the dark trying to find their way. And I'm like, this power is not it's not cleanly living up to what they've described it as.
Mhm.
And I don't know. There's something like story wise that's not really connecting there. I understand that they're trying to get them to a point where they're like apologizing for things they've done, but even that feels like that part felt a little manufactured to me. We don't know anything
I
about
agree.
Zed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we
Have-
see a woman with a baby as a jump scare, but it's not him that gets jump scared. It's Benji.
Benji, and
until
we
he
don't
falls
know
to his death.
A single thing about Benji. He's the cameraman, and that's it. We don't know shit about him.
Yeah.
So like we don't have the development to really know where these other people are coming from, except for her, and we only find out really what it is that's haunting her like moments beforehand.
Well, we do see it
So-
before in the caves of Iran. Like
Yeah,
we
but
we
we didn't know
definitely
what it
do get more
was.
drops from her, which I like that scene from Iran as well. That was really cool. Find in the
Yeah.
prop of the giant ox or whatever, and it's got shit
Oh, yeah.
written all over. That was really cool.
And like
but-
seeing the hanging
yeah.
corpse or whatever was cool, but like we didn't know what it meant until later.
I guess if you are following it more from this religious perspective, which I see, I don't know much about the lore of the stone really, so it's kind of hard to say. But they do set it up as this, alchemy and this kind of separate thing. But I mean, if you are following it that way, then it could be like a salvation or redemption from hell, and it requires
Mhm.
that forgiveness, to be saved from the depths of hell. Then yeah, I mean, you could spin it that way, I guess.
Happy on himself, like the way he dies, he gets sucked into that burning car, and just,
Yeah.
that's a fucking awesome death, by
I
the way. I
love
think it was
that
a little
scene.
too
It is,
composed of a
yeah.
scene. Like it's a little too overly composed for found footage for my taste, but I love how he just ends up with his feet in the ground. That's fucking incredible, and terrifying. But like, I think in that moment, he's like arguing with the vision. He's like, "No, I couldn't have saved you."
He
I couldn't-"
doesn't.
Like, so
yeah,
like he's
like,
rejecting
I
his
wasn't wrong.
chance to reckon with
mhm,
himself.
Exactly. He doesn't own up. He doesn't ask for forgiveness. Yeah,
Right.
he kind of goes the route of pride, and then that kind of is his
And that-
doom. So that's a good call. That is always the standout scene for me, though. That burning car, and I think you can forgive it a little bit. I do like that provides a huge amount of light that otherwise you aren't given for found footage. So it's kind of cool that it's clear. But yeah, even the whole theme of this was welcome to hell. And there are a handful of films that try to depict hell in different kind of ways. I like that they, discover the mole, and he's essentially their guide, which is what you also get, in Dante's Inferno. You have this guide who like leads you through the circles of hell or whatever. So it's cool
Strange person.
that they tried to represent that in some way, going down this well,
Mhm.
and also too, as far as a emergent situation, even leading up to that, I thought, man, this is a situation where you see the steps that get you there and how you just go deeper and deeper and deeper, because even if your curiosity is like, oh, I'll go with them a little bit of ways and we'll go look, and then you're like, oh shit, you go through this tunnel of water and around these corridors, and then you're just like, well, I guess we'll just push forward, because then something collapses. You're like, there's no going back, and you just got to
Mhm.
keep going. I
I
thought
was-
that was handled pretty well.
I was
Me too.
curious about whenever they first go into the tunnel that like Pappy and the other French folks are like terrified of, and he sees his big tag on the wall, and he's like, I've never fucking been here before. It's impossible that that's here. And then they see the mole who's inexplicably still alive. Like, somebody would fucking leave, but nobody does. It seems
Well, they can't.
I don't know.
unbelievable.
It seals up behind
so
them.
The thing, so the tunnel that they crawled under that has the bones, they're like, oh, we gotta like press through here. And Benji, that was a really good scene too, where Benji freaks the fuck out. He's like, I'm stuck.
Yeah,
I'm stuck, and they're like, move the
That is a
bones.
good scene.
When they get out of that tunnel, it collapses.
I remember that.
Well-
I thought the original way they came in was still open, but maybe that's not the case.
No. Like
No.
it's both. You're both right.
Yeah.
There's that
Ah.
collapse, and that blocks their way. But they scooch back out, and they're forced to go the route that they didn't want to go the first place, the evil route. And once they pass through that gate, they turn around. And they're like, "Oh, it's just like the room. We're in the same room. Oh, wait, no, it's reversed." And then they look behind them, and the way they came in is a brick wall or a
Well,
solid.
that was
cement
when they
wall,
crawled on their
whatever.
bellies.
Rock wall.
That's when the gate of literally they're saying
That's
like it's the
through
gate of
hell.
hell. But the
Yeah.
first one was when they're just going, and so they show up and they're like, "Should we go through this dark tunnel?" And the people are like, "No, we're not fucking going through this dark tunnel. We're not going that way. We're going this way." And they're like, "We don't want to go that way because you got to crawl with the bones."
Yeah.
And they're
Mhm.
like, "No, that's the only way to go." So they crawl in their bones. Benji gets stuck.
Mhm.
They move the bones. When they come out the other end of that tunnel, that's when the bone tunnel collapses. Oh my god,
Yeah.
there's a and
Yeah.
but it looks like the same place of when they came in, because then they're like, "Are you fucking with us?" Because it's the tunnel, the dark tunnel.
Oh, you're right. They do say that, don't
So
they?
then they're like, "Fuck, there's nowhere else for us to go. We
So they
have
do
to
go
go to the dark
through.
tunnel." Yes.
For some reason I got it in my head that they had had to reverse. As
That's
it
the
collapsed,
first
but they went all
reverse.
the way
No,
the
yeah,
rest of the
they
way
did
through.
go through because everyone gets
Okay.
mad to say, "We just crawled through this tunnel,
Yeah.
and did you
I think
fuck
both
with
work,
us?"
but
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
yeah. So they're
But,
mad
like,
at him.
And like honestly, like the magnetism of the underground is really well done. Like to your point, just because also you have this character who has decided not to come, and he's pulled because he cares about this woman, and then he's pulled because the police are
The
on their ass,
police.
and then like there's like always
Yeah.
a reason that they can't turn back, or he specifically can't turn back, and then they can't turn back. It's either their ambition or like a collapse or police or what. Like the movie keeps itself moving by like the sealing off all the exits, and it adds to the claustrophobia of everything every step of the way.
Yeah, that scene where Benji gets stuck actually was probably my favorite scare. I have like a touch of claustrophobia, not too bad, but dude, getting stuck in some catacombs surrounded by bones, it reminded me of The Descent a lot in that moment.
Oh yeah.
Fucking not chill. That would fuck me up pretty hard.
I'm the same way,
for
man.
sure.
I could deal with tight spaces, but even just I think it's the whole idea of once you get in there of, something about the idea of knowing that there's civilization right above you and there's no fucking way to access it. Like you're buried down there. There's
Yeah.
no screaming. There's no digging. And then I like the idea too of, even if, let's say Benji got freaked out or George or whatever, and he's like, "I'm going to go back." But one, none of the guides are going to take you because they want to go get the treasure or whatever. And there's weird shit down there. We see this group of weird people burning candles and doing rituals and shit. You're like, I'm not going to risk getting lost fucking down here. I'll be lost forever.
Yeah.
No one will ever find me. That's for it. Like, and this setting is one thing I like about this too. When Randy was talking about at the beginning, just setting a movie in a cultural space that's like, if you were a young, theater goer and it's probably, you probably never heard of the catacombs of Paris that are just filled with bones. And it's true. It's filled with millions and millions and millions of bones. And you're like, holy shit, what a wild fucking place. And it is, like that's,
I mean, it's a
that's
natural
cool
place
too.
for a
Yeah.
movie exactly like this. And that's clearly where, like, to me, like, I can't imagine they made this movie without that being the germ that became this movie. That's got to be ground zero for the idea, right?
I would think
I
so,
would
yeah.
assume
But they
so, yeah.
expand so deeply. Like, I really like how much they expand away from that, and they don't rely entirely on things like the skeletons are scary or whatever. Like, they do some like fucking like very good, in my opinion, mystical shit that's scary. Like the burning car or whatever is just one example, but like having a room be a reverse and having the corpse, all those things, those are like, it just builds really well on its original setting, and it doesn't necessarily turn back. I like that it doesn't like do that.
There's one thing that really didn't, well, maybe a couple. I didn't like the Benji like jump scare where he falls to his death, but if there's something that happened that I actually thought like it made me laugh. Towards the end of the movie, Scarlett's running around, and
I know
there are
you're
these
gonna
like
say.
these like really dusty dudes that are chasing after her, and she just fucking brains them with the camera a couple of times.
Yeah.
Her
It's
stiff
hilarious.
arm when she does it twice because she goes back and forth and she just stiff arms that bitch.
I love that shit. I love that, like, there's, I don't know. I like that there's even a fighting chance. Like it's almost like the illusion of hope for most of this movie. I forgot the way this movie ended, that they get out at all. Like to me, it was The Descent, where nobody really gets out, or arguably or whatever. But like uh, they don't really do that, and the idea that you can actually battle hell physically is fucking crazy, considering like the mystical shit we've seen. Like, it seems like, is it toying with them? Is this like hell playing with its food? Like, what's going on here? Does this just like, or does a non-undead, not having died living person have some sort of power that like a dead soul might not? Or I don't know.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I just like the idea that you can actually make your way through hell, make physical like altercations and survive them. It's not it's oppressive in so many ways, but it just like the fact that you can prolong your stay, like I don't know, it just made for a more exciting movie. It made it more adventure-y, which is what I liked about this movie.
Well, it's
Yeah.
interesting too because we're talking about this, found footage, and it does date itself a little bit in that if you're like you're holding these cameras and stuff like that. But it really reminded me of that recent one that got real big. Me and you have talked about it a bit, Randy, where the guy goes down into this like abandoned shopping mall and he's wandering
Oh,
around the shop and there's like weird shit. But
the
even,
Kane Pixels thing, yeah.
yeah, but there's been several where people are just wandering around this mysterious space and then there's something strange that shouldn't be there. So the moments where they're going down and they're like, how is this piano down here? And he plays it and it's got the
Mhm.
dead key. I was like, that's cool. And then also
Yeah.
too, when you're in this long dark tunnel and there's this phone ringing, this old school phone, that's just a cool effect. And the space that they're in, it reminded me of the stuff that's getting made now. Except I was like, if this was made now, obviously it wouldn't be. We don't need the handy cams anymore, or well, not the way that they're that's so shaky and stuff. We've cleaned that up a little bit, but also too, you don't even necessarily need all this exposition. We've seen these more minimalistic liminal space things where you're going in some space, there's something creepy there, it shouldn't be there, you turn around a corner. But I think it's still effective in that same way. Having this burning car down in these catacombs, this phone down in these catacombs where there's no light, you only get a glimpse of it, it's dusty, so it fits what's around but then it doesn't. I don't There's something just so unsettling about something being where it's not supposed to be, that I think
Yeah.
that they're able to tap in well, and is still being kind of tapped today in the kind of trends that we're seeing online.
I
Yeah.
agree. Like, I think this. Sorry, Bob, you were gonna say
I was
something?
like, yeah, I agree. It's just usually happening in like I don't know somebody's weird house or like
Right.
a barn or somewhere a little more normal. But I agree. Yeah, it's generally the same kind of emotion evoked in ideas at play.
Well, I like this. Like, this really does kind of bridge the gap between those two things in a lot of ways. But it's like, this is unique. The uniqueness of this, like, as compared to other found footage stuff that I have seen from that era, especially, is its setting, like, and its purpose. Like, it's a diegetic purpose of like, we're adventurers, we're trying to find the Philosopher's Stone, we're going off on an adventure here. You know what I mean? It's not people trying to figure out why their toaster oven keeps falling on the ground or anything. Like, it's all the standard stuff that we were kind of inundated at that time with, not just in found footage, but also in like Conjuring movies and shit like that. Like, there was a lot of that going out right then, and this is very different from that to me. And I like that it does kind of have these like unknowable things that happen in all these like crazy things like Justin just described. Like, I love that, but I also know by the end of the movie generally what the deal is, which is the key difference between this and something like Skinamarink or Outwaters or whatever. So you don't ever get any idea, because they are dead set committed to the idea that this is found footage, and found footage doesn't come with an
Mhm.
explainer. Like, you might not film
Yeah.
everything, and the pivotal shit might never have been filmed. So
Like,
I appreciate that too. But
I guess we are to assume that Scarlett edited all this footage together. Like Benji, the main cameraman, died. He didn't do it clearly, but everybody has like a little camera on their headlamp. So like, I guess she puts it all together.
I see
don't
that.
know.
that's the
That thing
thing, is,
about
like,
found
they
footage,
lose
I
their
don't-
headsets.
that
Yeah.
doesn't bother me. It never has. About like, I
Yeah.
never think about I never come out of a found footage movie thinking about the person editing it together, putting it together.
I
like,
rarely
putting all the
do. I'm with
footage.
you. Like that's not what I need from the movie to like.
Yeah.
It enhances the movie if I understand that to sometimes.
Mhm.
But like I think in this like and sometimes it also enhances it to do the opposite and like decide no, we're not doing that. We're not editing. It's going to be 10 minutes of nothing and then a spooky specter of a face kind of thing. Like that's great for Skinamarink. But for this is in that time period where like that was not an option. Like that's not explaining
Yeah.
what was
yeah.
going on in your horror
Yeah.
movie. People like hated that shit, especially then. They weren't down for things that didn't come with an explanation. That's like part of the reason people don't like things like I don't know. Like think about like 28 Days Later, Cloverfield. These are movies where like the characters like by all rights probably shouldn't know anything more than they know, but they wind up in places where they get exposition fed to
Information.
them. And this one does that too. It's a slave to the same demon, basically, where it has to do that. And it doesn't harm the movie for me, but I don't know. I just think that's kind of a key differentiator between these two aesthetics is like you really are just kind of thrown into footage that is found in these analog horror stuff. Like you're just like, oh fuck.
Mhm.
And like you don't have to think about anything besides like this is just found shit. But back in the day, man, people needed to know why is they still like the amount of found footage that came out that people criticized for being like, well, why are they still filming? Why would they still be filming? And it's like if they come up with a good reason, then great, that's nice. But if they don't, personally, for the most part, if the rest of the movie's good, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Well, it kind of. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
I don't necessarily know that like that bothers me so much as far as like who assembled this movie or who edited the movie at the end of the day. If the movie is good enough, I don't really give a shit if I'm entertained.
Mhm.
But if the movie is like a little meandering, or if I have like some extra time while I'm watching it and my brain might wander, and I had a little bit of that going on when I was watching this movie, but like, yeah, if it's fucking Cloverfield, I don't give a shit. So
Yeah, I had a little bit of that too. And like that's the thing is like this movie is trying to explain itself. It's trying to
Yeah.
allow you enough rope to explain it, but it ends up hanging them because they can't really explain why like half of the cameras, the headset cameras, are under rubble by the end of the movie. Who's gathering that footage, you know?
Yeah.
So like if you really want to go all the way
They
with
all
it,
feed
it
back to the
doesn't do
main
the job.
cameraman,
That's right. That's exactly right.
Was
Who's
that a thing?
dead?
They can't make phone calls, but that works. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
The files are going to be huge.
Oh, you have such
But-
big files. Oh.
One
Oh.
thing that I like about the way and the idea that the new stuff is presented now is you see some weird shit on the internet, and it sometimes it's just a matter
Yeah,
of
you
going down
do.
this rabbit hole of this link, and then somebody posts this link, and you go to this thing, it gets suggested, and it's completely understandable. And something I kind of wish they utilized or played with the idea of more back in the day of there is no, you go to this profile that has no information on it and you see this thing of, well, what the fuck is this? Nobody's explaining it away, but it exists on the internet because it can. And it's kind of the same idea you could play with back in the day of something like The Ring. What is this blank tape doing here? Who edited it? It's like, no, but it doesn't, there's no explanation. There's just a fucking blank tape that somebody stumbles across in a video store or just somewhere.
Yeah.
I guess it's just easier to accept now because there's so much shit on the internet. It's completely plausible that you stumble across this thing that nobody would ever look at, but unlocks the keys to this ridiculous mystery with no explanation behind it. Like that's, I
Well,
like
people
that
do
aspect now. Yeah.
Like, yeah, that is a thing. Like people finding, like for example, lost media people, like they go hunting for lost media. They just pour through files and files of shit on leads that may not lead anywhere. And who knows what the fuck they're gonna find on the dark
Yeah.
web anywhere else? Like they could find that shit. And I think it bears noticing that this director, John Eric Dowdle, I haven't seen this movie, but you guys did, directed the Poughkeepsie tapes, Quarantine 1 and 2, and a couple other things. And like I
All
haven't
good
seen Poughkeepsie
movies.
tapes, but like that movie is like, is it found on the internet? Those tapes, like, is that
No.
I don't remember
the
how
setup
it's
for that
presented.
movie? Okay, then then I
No, it's like almost a faux
Investigation.
documentary. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Oh, okay.
Like a
Alright.
true
TV
crime,
show.
because
Yeah,
they're interviewing one of the kidnapped victims or whatever.
yeah, who
it's getting
survived.
that's right, because I'm remembering that ending. That ending, woo.
Interesting. Well, it just so
Woo.
happened like I had an
Yeah.
extra good time watching this time, and I think that the reason is because it just so happened that this week I watched a couple other movies that were kind of like this. I was going to bring up on what you've been watching, called The Horror in the High Desert and Horror in
Cool.
the High Desert Minerva, and I also just randomly decided to watch basically like urban explorers videos of people like actually doing the shit that like is in the back rooms. And the ones I found, like there's one that's like basically a factory city that's like completely abandoned, and there's like shit from like the 60s and 50s in there and shit. They're
Mhm.
digging through like cobweb spider webs or whatever, and it's the dumbest people on earth by the sound of it. The way their banter is like really dumb, but like I don't know, like it felt like they were in fucking BioShock or some shit. So like I've got all this material rattling in my head as I'm watching this of like people exploring and driven to explore for one reason or another, and going through places where people have been but do not exist, and finding things that should not be there. Like all that shit just really amped. It just gave me a booster shot for this movie.
Randy's
Well,
about to go buy a bullwhip and a hat. Go
Well,
nuts.
No, that's something I actually wanted to touch on because so there's a guy here in Seoul. Actually, I think he's leaving now. Yeah, I think this is last weekend. But for the past several years, I've known of him. I don't want to like drop any names because a lot of stuff he does is illegal. But he does this kind of stuff in Seoul where he goes and explores these spaces. And years ago, 2019 or 18 even, I remember him showing and posting some stuff about this lost subway terminal or whatever that was like underground or whatever. And just I think it was last year, and ever since he posted, I was always like considering like maybe I should go like check that out or whatever. And it was just last year that the Seoul government actually discovered it. They were saying like, oh, we kind of like forgot about this, and now are making plans to like renovate it and turn it into something. But like years ago, this guy
that's
had
crazy.
this like footage and pictures and was just doing it by himself. Just he explores these places within Seoul or within Korea actually in general. So to see a movie like this, it's like it's when you get into a big city that has this long history where people aren't necessarily, a developing country where people aren't necessarily keeping like the best records and stuff like that for a certain period of time. You go through like regime changes and stuff like that. And you just like stumble upon shit like this that just exist. And that's cool. That's creepy because at the same time, yeah, nobody else knows it's there. If that dude got his foot stuck or there's some fucking monsters down there or something, nobody's ever gonna know where you were and you're just lost to time forever. Like that's really fucking cool. And like
the
this
Dusty Boys are coming to get your ass.
Well, I think this movie evokes that. I think it just it presents it that like this could it's very, very plausible that you just keep going down this tunnel and keep going, and you go to this next space and you go to this next space and like you can't fucking get out now. You're fucked.
Yeah.
And there's so many moments like that it feels
Yeah.
that way, and then they've managed to find their way out. It's great. I love that cycle. Rob, please continue.
Poppy and his crew clearly are some sort of urban explorers because they've got this van totally outfitted with like climbing gear and all sorts of like tactical stuff. So like I'm sure they don't just explore the catacombs; they go around and do whatever's. Yeah, and it's interesting that folks make that a hobby, and I'm sure people have been injured and stuff while doing it because it's extremely fucking dangerous.
Yeah,
but I think having a crew at least would be helpful and not just by your lonesome.
Like going out and striking like that, not an urban explorer, but like in that Horror in the High Desert. That is the premise of the movie. It is a faux documentary about a man whose job it is to, I forget exactly what it is, but go out into, unpopulated areas in the woods because he loves the woods so much. And I forget what he's doing, but it's the data finding thing. That's his job. So he's just out there, and he has no cell service. He can't do anything. So like, that's the whole premise. Like, I don't know. There's something so fascinating about all that. Like even in like Jacksonville, I don't know if you guys remember this, but when I discovered like through like Folio Weekly or whatever, that there's like an underground tunnel between a few buildings in downtown Jacksonville that you can go
Yeah.
to, that there's a fucking restaurant down there that sells things for like 1990 prices. Like, it's weird. It's so weird.
Hmm.
I don't know. Like, and that's not closed to the public or anything. That's not even even hard to get to. It's just an odd thing that happens when you have cities and towns like this for so long, and it just provides another environment for people like this to go in. And the fact that this goes from Paris to, like, it just ties everything in so beautifully to me. I really like the core conceit of this movie quite a lot.
Yeah.
You know, we've done a bit of urban exploring ourselves, boys.
Oh God.
Have
Going
we?
into school number 4.
Oh yeah.
I never did that, actually.
Oh,
really?
I
I never made it.
Well, it's
Well-
just, yeah, it's things like that where I think this movie, it really encourages some more kind of run and gun filmmaking. And there's something about this movie that's just kind of like fun to think about it being made, because really you need to develop these kind of establishing shots of where you are and how you got there. But then the rest of it is, they could have easily found a spot that was just, you shoot it from the right angle and you kind of like turn this way. You don't need a whole lot. And sometimes just a good location can carry you a lot of the way and makes it engaging enough. And Bob, speaking about School 4, if you were able to just like, it's got enough floors and interesting rooms and growth coming up that you could shoot a movie there like this, and
I'm sure
in a
many
limited
have.
and in a limited space, make it very engaging and make it look very exotic and stuff like that. And I think that this movie utilized that well. I think it's got this good spirit to it, and watching it, that's part of it. It's exciting to me because it feels immersive, of like, I can put myself in this crazy fucking place that I would never be in, but I can imagine myself there so easily. And I think it does utilize the setting very well.
Yeah, for sure. The setting does a lot of heavy lifting in this movie. It's fucking
It
cool.
does. Yeah.
And this was the first, and to my knowledge, the only, maybe they shot some other stuff there in the past decade since this was filmed, but this was the first movie that ever actually got permission to shoot
didn't
down
know
in
that.
the Parisian catacombs. Yeah, which is
Interesting.
super cool.
Man,
Nice feather in the cap there.
Yeah.
it's crazy that they chose this movie to do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
It's about time to land that plane there, fellers. So any other major points you want to hit on, feel free to do so. Out of 5, Juice, how do you feel about As Above, So Below?
Yeah, this has always lived positively in my mind, especially when I'm considering found footage films. And there are some times when you go back and revisit found footage where the narrative is a little thin. And in some ways, I think that is true for this one. I think it does give more exposition than maybe a lot of found footage films need to. And some of it is a little too convenient. Like, I know all this shit, but some of it works okay enough for me to justify these hellish things that we're gonna see or experience and stuff like that. I feel like they could have shown a little bit more restraint. I like the guy playing the piano and hitting the dead key. I don't necessarily need his brother, though, floating under the water. Like, it kind of goes a little bit back and forth. To Bob's point, there's a couple goofy jump scares. The one where Benji falls to his death, that one was kind of cheap, honestly. But at the same time, I like them just strolling through the catacombs, and then there's this cultish people that's just there. That's just creating this atmosphere. I feel is like where it's stronger, where it's actually needs to justify being a film. I feel like is maybe where it comes in a little weaker, of like, we got to scare them, we got to do the jumps and stuff like that. Honestly, I was so surprised. It could have gone either way. I was so surprised that they didn't have the corpse there and they turn off all their lights. I thought for sure they were going to turn the lights back on. The corpse is gone. They didn't do it. So they didn't necessarily reach for the low hanging fruit. But some of the jump scares were, just kind of cheap a little bit, I guess. But as far as representing hell, it's hard to do. And I think that this one is a good type of iteration. It's not the best I've seen, but the flaming car, I kind of wish there was a little bit more moments like that, honestly. That one is fantastic. Her stiff arming the Dusties
So
is
fucking funny.
ridiculous. Also, too, the back and forth of it all. The idea that she's gonna climb up this well that's hundreds of feet, or at least I think they say 100 feet, is not acceptable. You can't do that. You're not going to do that. Her, like, literally with her hands climbing this
bare
rope.
hands.
No, the strongest person is not going to do that.
Guys, they do that in fucking high school gym class. What are you talking about?
Not 100 feet.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know what the
Like-
footage is.
Like
No.
10 feet, maybe.
And also,
Yeah.
she's braced against the tunnel itself and her back and feet. Like, I don't know. I don't find it. I don't know. I don't know enough about climbing to really say with any authority, but
I say no. But anyways, the kind of back and forth of it all. However, the ending, see, I love the falling and the upside downness of it all. And honestly, even I kind of wish they gave a little bit of hint of like, maybe this isn't the world that you know, or in some ways it's like kind of
Mhm.
fucked up or something. That would have kind of been cool. But the very end of the manhole and pushing it down and going upside down, the way they did it, that was a cool trick for me. I do love the reverse aspect of it. It's just a tiny little aspect that I think adds a lot. Overall, I like the setting. The narrative is thin. Most of the scares and aspects are cool. Some of them are a little cheap. So I go back and forth a little bit. I think I'll give this one a 3.25. I think it's strong, got a lot of aspects of it, but maybe a little too much exposition, a little thin on the narrative, some cheap ways out of some things, but overall positive, good experience. Bob, out of 5, where are you going to put it? As above, so below?
Oh, hey. This one, I remember watching it, around about the time it first came out and liking it quite a bit. And I think maybe it didn't age super duper well. It's not a bad movie by any means, but I think we've probably just seen so many other found footage movies since this has come out that, I don't know, on this rewatch, it didn't quite hit as strongly for me as I remembered it being anyways. I do, like I mentioned, I love the genre blend going on here with this sort of action adventure kind of treasure hunting thing meeting with horror. Super cool. The setting in the catacombs, also super fucking cool. Definitely does a lot of heavy lifting. I think the characters are relatively thin. There's a lot of like interesting sort of like history being talked about and thrown around at a very like rapid pace that feels like sort of unnatural for these characters for me. That kind of took me out of the movie a little bit. There's some like leaps in logic too. Like Scarlet is just able to like very quickly, glance at a symbol or read a couple lines of text and immediately know this like very abstract thing that she has to go do, and she, sprints towards it immediately, and she's exactly right every single time. She's right. I don't really like that. I think it's maybe not the best writing. The biggest flaw in the writing for me, I think, is her finding her dream power by looking at the little like mirror ball and kissing the dude, and all of a sudden he's totally fine. I really don't like that ending at all. I think he should have died. Maybe she should have been wrong, kissed him and he still dies or something. I don't know. It's I just didn't really like that. The Dusty Boys getting brained, fucking hilarious. One of my favorite things of this movie. I fucking love that shit. I think the car on fire is great. The piano is cool. The phone ringing is cool. There's a lot of like nice little set pieces. The catacomb that they find, or the tomb rather, that they find in the catacombs. Probably my favorite set piece. A really nice little moment there. Them searching for the Philosopher's Stone is pretty cool. Them like at the very end, the little tag where Scarlet's like, "Oh, I'm just searching for the ultimate truth" or whatever. I don't really know what that means, or what she's really actually trying to find necessarily, and them all having to like admit their sins before they take that final leap. I don't like that either. I don't know. The writing's just a little dodgy here for me, but there's some really cool moments for sure. Overall, I feel kind of right down the middle on this one. I think I'm gonna come in with a 2.5 for As Above, So Below. Randy, how do you feel?
yeah, I feel pretty good about this movie. I don't know. I'm just to respond to like the writing. I think is what's a little odd here, and I don't know. I kind of flip flop on it because on the one hand, like this movie is trying to be exposit, or it's being very expository all the time, and yet there's things that they don't explain, which seems like it should be a good thing, but it leaves me kind of like I don't know. It kind of it puts me in this valley where like normally in a found foot, normally in like Skinamarink or whatever, knowing what was going to happen, knowing exactly what's going on takes away, and I think there's a little bit of that going on here because again, like explanations were so important, especially at this time. Like, why are they holding the camera? Why blah 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 blah. But I can ignore that stuff a little bit more now than I used to be able to when the action is good. So I don't know. I'm just kind of like twisted up about whether or not I how much I find fault in that. But as far as like, you know, reckoning with her sins or whatever, I kind of like that. I just don't think that is done perfectly well. I think that like you were just saying, like George dying and her like, you know, whatever force using the force to heal him or whatever.
The Force
Like,
is-
I think that feels kind of fucking weird. And if they wanted to go that route, maybe they do what I suggested or something like along those lines where she has like some sort of mystical hold on this place or power over this place that goes beyond punching dusty dudes and goes beyond healing her boyfriend, would-be boyfriend or whatever. Or have him die, to your point, Bob, and then make that part of your reckoning. You dragged him down here. The
Yeah,
whole
totally.
movie is
Yeah,
around
dude,
you
yeah.
dragging him along and having done that before and abandoning him in Turkish prison, as we
Yeah.
pointed out. Like that is a through line you can rely on, but they don't
Yeah.
really do a lot with it. There's a lot of like setup with no payoff, and then a lot of payoff for things that aren't set up, it seems like. So, but moment to moment, this movie feels fun as fuck and like scary and claustrophobic and isolated and all the things it's supposed to be. The setting goes a hugely long way. It just looks oppressive in there. It's the Descent level oppression going on there. And they mix in a little bit of like puzzle problem solving or whatever. It doesn't really super bother me that she's that knowledgeable because they set her up that way. And I don't know. I'm rambling a little bit, but like I'm of two minds about that part, some of these parts of the movie, but I like so much about like the setting and how they do that mystical stuff. I agree with Justin. I wish they had done more mystical stuff, more mystical scares that are like, you know, telegraphed in odd ways, like seeing the flame or whatever, and you think, oh, they're going into hell. It's going to be the fiery lake or something. No, it's something else that's more personalized and fucked up. Like I like that. I like the corpse that doesn't decay and all that shit. There's a lot to like about this movie and its individual moments, and I think it strings itself along well enough to make a fun and engaging movie. I just don't know, like some of those choices feel like they left me wanting, and some of them feel like they added, and sometimes I can't decide which. So that's not necessarily a resounding praise on that front. Anyway, long story short, too late, is I'm gonna probably give this a 3.5. I'm gonna go just a little bit higher. That ties it with my ranking for the Blair Witch Project, but that is that doesn't hold up now. I think that I would give that a higher rating if we were to review that tonight. Yeah, it's a 3.5 for me. While I have problems with it and it's a little uneven, it really immersed me and it really gave me some unique stuff that I didn't necessarily expect from found footage that's from this era where it was just kind of like set it and forget it sort of stuff most of the time.
Right on. 3.5 from Randeezy, who just loves to be immersed. Immerse
Love it.
me, daddy. That's going to put our aggregate at a 3.1. Let's jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment, see what the critics and users have to say.
I also really love that Satan in this movie is like just a spooky dude in a robe that sits in a single chair.
Oh, hey,
I
it's
love
me,
that.
Satan.
Hey
I don't know,
guys,
man. It's an economical and effective way to show your devil, I guess.
Get him, Dusty
and-
boys.
The
Yeah,
Dusty
he's got
Boys.
putties from fucking Power Rangers at his disposal. They burst out of the wall. I
They
liked that they
do.
did that. Like that was cool.
Dude,
I
Like,
liked seeing them in the wall first. Them busting
I did
out
too.
didn't necessarily look good.
yeah,
but
I didn't
like
think they
the
needed to
faces.
bust out.
Oh,
I wish they had just
Oh.
like kind of like groaned or something or like moved
Yeah.
their mouths or something. That would
But-
have been more effective. But I don't mind the
Satan's
stiff arm
buddies.
either.
Busting
So-
makes me feel good. So
Bustin makes Justin in particular feel good.
Dusty
all right.
busting.
Anyway, back to the segment I just set up. This is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to have these gentlemen guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is on RottenTomatoes.com for As Above, So Below, starting with critics and then to the users. All right, so those critics, there are only 80 reviews counted amongst the critics here, so keep that in mind as you're making your wagers here. I'm going to start with Juice today. Juice, where do you think that those 80 reviewers are going to land aggregate positive-wise?
Yeah, that's a pretty small sample size. And the thing is, with critics, I don't, especially in 2014, we keep saying back in the day, but honestly, 2014 is pretty late for a lot of found footage. I mean, if you consider the Blair Witch came out in 1999,
Yeah.
that's 15 years removed.
Well, Paranormal Activity kicked off the boom, though, and that was, what, 2010 or something?
Okay, maybe. I guess so. Well, it still seems kind of far removed. And I guess we started getting some VHSs and stuff. That's true. That's true. I don't know. I feel like critics generally aren't very
2007 was the first Paranormal Activity.
Okay, so even 7
Was it?
years removed. Yeah. So I feel like
I got
this
2009 was the release for that.
I feel like
but-
this is a little kind of I don't know, past the found footage prime, and feels a little late to the game. And I don't think that critics are typically very positive towards found footage films. So I'm gonna keep it pretty low today. I think I'm gonna say like 55.
55. Bob, how about you? What are you
So,
going with this 55?
Maybe it was 2000. So IMDb, if you just pull it up and look at the date at the very top, it says 2007. Maybe that was like festivals and stuff. But
I think
when
it
you
was.
scroll down to release date, it says October 16, 2009, United States.
I think
so
there
maybe
was a
that was the
lengthy
wide-
wait for that to. Yeah.
I know it was a slow rollout too. Like it had a limited release and like word of mouth garnered like a larger and larger, kind of like
Right.
It Follows. Same thing
Yeah.
happened to that. So maybe 2009 was the official wide. So yeah, okay, 2009. We'll go with that. Back to the game at hand. Juice, what was your score? Sorry,
55.
55. I'm gonna go. I think I go a little higher, not too much higher. I'll go with give me a 65.
65. All right. Well, let me do a considerable amount of math real quick. I think it's a 27 point difference
Yeah.
between the correct answer and the
We're either
Best
going
guess?
really high or really low, and I'm
Yeah.
not liking the odds.
Damn. That's above.
the correct answer is
wow.
28%.
Oh
Damn,
no!
28.
surprising.
That's a bare bottom
That's a
barrel.
kick in the dusty dick. is what that is.
Damn.
Yeah, 28%. So Juice is going to take this, but not not for lack of fucking it up, you know. So,
Yeah.
um,
Damn.
well done.
I
All
gotta
right,
say-
let's go over to the audience. I mean, you had a 50-50
that
shot.
yeah, that logic. I mean, it's kind of people. How do critics do not like found footage?
To your point though, I think you're right that like 5 years difference between this and Paranormal Activity.
Paranormal,
Like
yeah.
when that kicked off the boom, and I think like 2 years later was like the pinnacle of like people cheaply throwing together any found footage they can.
Yeah,
and
you got your
people were at this point
VHSs, your
inundated.
quarantines, and there's a lot of them out
Wreck
there.
and all this stuff, and some of them are great. The ones we're listing are at least stand a chance of being great. The ones that we're not
Yeah.
listing are ones that we can't even think of because they're so fucking forgettable because they were thrown together for a song.
Yeah. One of the
so, yeah.
biggest ones too that came out around that time was Hell Yeet.
There it is. I fucking knew it was coming. I knew
It's
it.
gonna take a few.
Oh yeah, and one of the biggest.
Oh God, no, no!
All right, let's move on to the audience score. Here's not 100, 10,000 plus ratings for the users here, the audience. I'm gonna go in reverse order, of course. Bob, why don't you tell me what do you think those 10,000 users rank this film? How do you think they rank this film? Positively, negatively?
Gotta be higher than the fucking critics. It's gotta be. But damn, that's like surprisingly low. So maybe I'll go a little lower than I probably would have. Just give me a 60. Basically what we give it, 60.
All right, 60. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I think horror fans kind of like this, but there's still people just even amongst horror fans, there are a lot of people who don't like found footage. I guess I'll stick with my 55.
All right, 55. So that puts you in the under position,
Yep.
as you enjoy, of course. There is a 14-point spread on this one as well between the correct answer and the best guess. The correct answer is 41%. Soldier's going to take this, but man, this is a brutal.
That's surprising.
score.
That is surprising. So our average was what? 30
3.1.
3.1. Okay,
It'd be
so
like a
62%.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
I mean,
Woo.
that's.
We're
I
hot
think
on
that
this, apparently.
I think this movie gets a lot of retrospective praise from, like
Maybe.
I was saying, like this in
Yeah, at the
listicles. That's why
time,
I was
yeah.
blown away. I was like, man, there's so many lists of people saying how this is a movie that's worth checking out, and yet it's getting this from the audience. Like that's crazy to me. But I just feel like there was a quick negative reaction because of the time that it was released, and I feel like its reputation is healing that a little bit, but not that quickly.
Well,
Apparently not.
at least we got a hell you'd sweep today.
At least.
I've always
Yeah.
been a creeper.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The critics' consensus reads as follows. After an intriguing setup that threatens to claw its way out of found footage overkill, As Above, So Below plummets into cliched mediocrity. I think that's overstating
I
it,
think
but
people were just
A
tired of-
little, like
I
the
think they
jump
were-
scares, but
yeah, I think they were just tired of this medium. Like I just
probably.
I think so.
I think
Yeah.
this movie might not have been made if it weren't for that boom. But
Yeah,
I also
that's
think that
fair.
it suffered for being released at a time where that was a boom that was either happening or wrapping up.
This definitely,
know.
like, I mean, when you consider, I mean, the Blair Witch was of its time and, you know, did something amazing. But with the Blair Witch just wandering around the woods, and they still use their setting to, you know, to their advantage in some capacities. But I mean, at least this one's got such a baller setting that they utilize so well. Some found footage is just wandering around an abandoned building in your, you know, hometown. So,
Or your parents' house.
yeah, or your parents' house.
Well, whatever,
And
with some
sometimes
Legos.
it really depends on the filmmaker whether it works or not. I think this movie works not just because of the setting. I think it's just capably used.
Yeah.
It's the other parts that kind of
Mhm.
drag on it a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wonder what this movie is going to look like to fans in like another 10 years. I'm curious what the future holds for this movie. I feel like it's a little bit of a cult classic form already.
I don't know if it's that hot. I wouldn't
not
call it a cult
cold,
classic.
but yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's with the people who like love. Even in our Slack, you know, people were kind of coming back to push for it, but it didn't win an overwhelming majority against.
No, I think I got a cult
Hellraiser
following
dudes.
though, and I think that following stands a chance of growing over time.
Yeah. Maybe
all.
once it gets
Yeah.
more retro of,
I don't think it's ever
going to
be Army of
or
Darkness level
something.
necessarily,
No,
but
yeah.
but I think it's found its people, and I think there's like going to be more and more vocal about it with time.
Yeah.
That'd be my
Could
guess.
be, yeah. Could be. Yeah.
After our episode drops, there's going to be a huge wave of folks.
Oh yeah,
running-
we're bringing
running
it
to see
on
it.
right here.
It's really those listicles don't matter. This show, it's gonna put it over.
Yeah, no, I'm living in a nightmare.
Oh yeah, it did. I think I would call this successful at the box office. Apparently the budget was about $5 million. Super fucking cheap movie to make, and it grossed 41. So even if you take advertising into consideration,
Yeah, that's solid.
Maybe they were in for 15 million total. Grossed 41. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not too
But
bad.
there are people out there who don't even own this blue. So I mean, it could go either
I
way.
know.
It's my fault. It's my fault. Let me
You
buy
have
it.
fucked this movie, Bob.
Fucked it.
Real quick before we move on, just gonna read one or two negative reviews just to do it. Here we go. Nothing more than your typical horror film with the cast dwindling to faceless pawns set up to create the next scare. Again, I don't think that's entirely fair. I think
Yeah.
that they do develop the characters. It's just not very satisfying development, a lot of it.
Well, I was actually kind of surprised to remember that there was more people than I thought. You know, there was like 6 people, and I was like, oh, I don't even remember being
ground
that
to cover.
many. Yeah.
I think they could have compressed down the number of people in general. Like, I don't think
Probably.
we needed Zed necessarily. I don't think that I think that Benji and George could have been the same character.
Zed
I
did
don't know.
have a sick De Niro impression, so don't write him
My-
off too quickly.
Well, I mean, that's worthy of inclusion on its own for sure. All right, one more negative review, then we're moving on. I don't want to keep us holding up here. Okay. Apparently, these young adults are experts on urban planning, metallurgy, civil engineering, languages, Egyptian mythology, and ancient mysticism, but their smarts are only matched by their lack of common sense and accountability.
Some
All right, Dad.
smart people don't have a lot of common
People-
sense.
Yeah, that's a known thing. Being
Yeah.
smart does not necessarily make you
Especially
sensical.
ambitious ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Or people who are chasing the ghost of their dead father or whatever. Like, I don't know.
We've all been
Maybe
there.
it's
God
yeah,
damn.
yeah. We all go through that one.
Haunt me, Daddy.
Yeah, I don't know. That's it for Rotten Tomatoes. Let's move on to some trivia if you got any, Bob.
There's really not. I mean, the little bit that I had, we kind of talked about already during our review.
Okay.
So we can just roll right into our cooter of the week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
Juice. What is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter's character type and a straight chilling exclusive. oh.
hey!
Oh, hey,
Oh,
Cooter's
nice.
character
I'm
type.
here. Oh,
Oh, hey.
Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, but we want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, overall patheticness.
a little rusty
Boys,
now, huh?
I know. I've been handing it off a lot of these weeks. Boys, I don't know. Is there a cooter this week? Not too many people super developed.
Yeah, not to that extent. There's just too many people in this to where or they just don't spend a lot of time on that development, I guess, except
Let's
for
touch on Scarlet. I don't know if she has
Yeah.
enough.
That's what I was
but
thinking.
I
Yeah.
think we can.
I doubt it, but I
analyze
think
her.
we get her for at least manipulation.
For sure. And I would also say smug arrogance.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
Um,
Now it's hard because it's loyalty is not one, but leaving your boy in a Turkish prison, I mean, I might want to assign him patheticness or something to that. I don't know. Like that's really fucked
Yeah.
up.
I don't know how
It's
you
fucked up.
get him out. Maybe there's a way. I don't fucking know. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's shitty. Yeah.
You could maybe chalk it up to arrogance because the reason she gives for doing that is I couldn't let the trail go cold. It's like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
that's
Who gives a
true.
shit about
That
the
is-
trail?
that
I'm
is
in
fucked up.
jail in a foreign land.
Yeah.
That
In
is fucked up.
Turkey, that doesn't sound good.
But even that, like, I'm not really sure that
I'll go to
in
jail in
itself is a
Switzerland.
cooter.
I'd rather be stuck in Bologna.
Yeah, they know how to do jail there.
Oh yeah, Switzerland's
The
where
mi-
it's at.
The meat
Good
countries.
stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess that would kind of be a stretch to give it patheticness because otherwise she's quite capable and
Yeah, she's
has
right.
the
100% of the time.
of the stone in her body now.
In her
so.
mouth, apparently. Let me just
Whoa.
kiss you back.
I don't know if that's like. I thought it was her hands on him. I don't know. Like, I don't know what that deal was.
Well, hands or mouth.
I don't know if she
either
still
way.
has. Does she still have powers at the end? I don't know, man. I just
I don't know. I don't know.
We'll just have
it's-
to put it to the test.
Wait,
Yeah.
somebody cut my throat. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
And then give me a smack right on the lip. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody else really develops well enough for us to get there here. Everybody's like very fixated on their tasks and they're pretty capable at it, so they're not pathetic at what they're doing necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's
Cooter
Three,
Light.
I think.
Cooter Light
not
for
a lot of
Scarlet, I guess.
details here. Yeah, maybe light. Yeah.
Say a warning for her, not necessarily much more than that.
You're on probation.
Keep an eye
Scarlet.
out.
Yep.
Keep your hands
All right, that's
off
it for
me.
Rotten Tomatoes, and that's it for trivia, and that's it for Cooter of the Week.
It's just fucking. We're done. We're fucking done
What
here.
are we
so-
doing? What are we doing here? Well, what's next, Bob? Tell me what's next.
Okay. We're done with the cooter segment. Clearly, Randy says. Let's go ahead and it's been a while since we've done this, but actually talk about what we've been watching this week.
gang. What you been watching?
All right, Randy, since you were in such a hurry, why don't you tell us what you've been watching?
Okay, all right. So I just really want to get to this segment because we always stack them up until there's
Get a
way too fucking many.
purge.
And I'm gonna have to like skip
don't-
over a few here.
Okay, yes. Okay.
Everything.
I like to talk about it.
You get 3 things.
No, that's not
No.
happening. All right. Horror in the High Desert and Horror in High Desert Minerva, the sequel. I did watch both of those, like I mentioned, and I told you the basic premise of the first one. I would say that these are pretty fucking, or at least the first one is a pretty fucking spot on low budget homage or spoof or whatever or style grab of like Netflix documentaries, Netflix true crime documentaries. I think it does a pretty capable job at that. And I don't know what the deal is with the actors, but like it seems like they're untrained. It seems like they're, or like I don't know, like it's low level training or whatever. But that adds to their authenticity at times, and then at other times it kind of draws it back a little bit. I don't. Sometimes it feels very real. Like me and Beck were watching this together, and I was like, I don't know. I might do a individual review on this for the mini episode, so I'll probably just stop it there. The second one, I don't know. I got problems with that one. Let's see what else. True Detective Night Country. You got maybe some more thoughts on that coming in a mini episode soon as well. Have some
Whoa.
thoughts.
Oh, show.
Let's see. I was inspired by Juice's journey to watch Miyazaki films and got into My Neighbor Totoro, which I hadn't seen before, and it didn't do a ton for me. It was fine.
No.
I don't know. Like it's maybe just a little. It was maybe a little too childish for what I wanted. I like Spirited
Randy's an
Away so much.
adult, Justin. Okay.
I don't know.
Scar my soul, please.
I don't know. It's not that I didn't. I was just kind of like not. I was just kind of not feeling very engaged by it, I guess. So I tried to watch it though, and like it's good animation. It's got some good parts to it. Nothing really stuck for me, so it's just not for me. I don't think. Still looks great, like visually, like they never miss. But finally finished the Lord of the Rings trilogy with Beck. They finally got through The Return of the King and all 12 of its endings. That's a fun
Oh,
movie
my
set,
Lord.
man, but it's cheesier than I remember. Every time I see it, I'm like, man, this is a whew. They really just went right for it, right for that like baseline of fantasy genre tropey that like I know that it's just because J.R.R. Tolkien is who he was and defined that genre in and of himself, but it just seems weird. It's like everything's a little bit, I don't know, a little bit, it feels cliched, but it's only cliched because this property existed in the first place, so I can't really blame it. And anyway, in any case, the fucking action's fun, the performances are fun. It's just a fun fucking action romp. It's a good movie, and it still looks good for its time. I watched The Florida Project. I finally watched that. That movie is cripplingly, depressingly accurate. Holy shit.
I've never seen
I
it.
haven't seen it yet.
Good. Check that shit out. You're gonna recognize them. They film it
Sometimes
on
that shit
location on
bums me out.
iDrive.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
well, this will. Yes, yeah. Like and but like fucking what's his name? God damn, blanking. Willem Dafoe is in this. He's fucking great in it, as expected. All the performances are great and very natural, and it just feels like a real situation, and that's what's so like fun and also heartbreaking about it. Man, it's a movie, man. I should have watched it years ago. Finally watched Destroy All Neighbors, which I thought was a little mid. Like, I respect that this movie is clearly made out of a passion for prog rock of all things, and like that shows. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think there would be much to go to here. If it wasn't for like somebody talking passionately about an anachronistic thing that they like, and that's for a small, like, I like that. I like seeing people on YouTube do that. I like seeing people tell me about this weird shit that they're into, and that's the part that I like about that movie. But the rest is kind of like not as funny as it wants to be, and not
great
actiony as it wants to be either. I don't know. It tries. It sure tries, and I like
Well,
everybody in the movie. So
yeah, the cast is great. The YouTube videos that he watches when he's like driving around and shit, that got me
Yeah.
pretty good. I like that stuff.
They're pretty good. And then last, I'll just say that Beck and I have like because we've been kind of slammed, we've been working and allowing Marvel movies to play in the background because we started like a year ago or more the chronological Marvel movie journey. So we watched Black Panther, Spider-Man Homecoming, Doctor Strange, maybe one other that I didn't write down, and while we're working, and they're fun, man. Like Homecoming is just a fucking good movie. Black Panther's a pretty damn good movie. Doctor Strange is less so. Like that they actually were hitting pretty fucking good at that point in the Marvel universe, and I guess we're coming to that flashpoint pretty soon where it's gonna take a real turn. That's it.
Maybe it already
Shmoose,
has.
how about you? Yeah, I mean,
Well, in his
I-
watching,
in my
in your
in
journey.
his journey, yeah.
Gotcha.
Maybe.
we've already
Gotcha.
seen
Well, it
Black
definitely
Widow because
has.
it chronologically happened before all that. and
Oh
it's,
yeah.
it's not good. There's definitely some clunkers already.
No.
Juice. about you?
Yeah, so still going on my Ghibli journey, and watch Pompoko. That's the one with the tanukis, the raccoons that have giant nut sacks. That shit is hilarious. They legit, like, it's a weird movie tonally because sometimes it deals with some really kind of like, there's a sad narrative and some of the characters, but then also sometimes it's very, very childish, like in its animation and narration, and then sometimes there are these giant raccoons fighting with their giant nutsacks, and that shit's hilarious. So a little bit all over the place, but I found it to be a very interesting movie. I liked it. It was just wild. I watched a Korean film called On the Beach at Night Alone, and this just has a really interesting backstory. So there's this director who had an affair with one of his actresses in like 2015. They made a film together, and then this film is about that affair, which they announced their affair publicly at the opening night of this film, and the film is about their affair. It's like kind of awkward in some ways. It's really,
What's this called?
It's called On the Beach at Night Alone. And it deals like directly with their affair and their feelings of the affair, like her kind of being rejected of him, and she plays herself in the film too. It's good, but it's also, I've never quite seen anything like that made me go like, whoa, this feels like very intimate and personal, and it's about their affair.
Scandalous.
So, yeah, it is. I've been watching this thing. So I've talked a lot about, especially in the October season, but I did the Christmas one this year, those Mickey Mouse like one-offs or whatever. So the same guy who makes that, it's labeled as Mickey Mouse Short on My Disney, and it's a guy, it's put together by a guy named Paul Rudish. And it essentially matches the style of like that October one, which was just very kind of magical. It felt like it just took all the essence of autumn and squeezed it into this short, and they're all about 5 to 6 minutes. There's 5 seasons of them, but they'll go to like these different locations. One of them's in Paris, and then one of them's like catching the train in Tokyo, and they're very charming, and the animation is fantastic, and I've just been really impressed by watching them. So I'd recommend that.
I thought you knew about that when you talked about it before. It's like a show. Like
Yeah. Well, no, there's a
like a
separate
full-
thing from it. There's a show too, but these are like specifically labeled Mickey Mouse Shorts, where they're maximum 5 to 6 minutes, and they just like go through them.
I think that's like, I don't know. I could be wrong. I always thought that was like the.
I think there's a
half-hour
show as
segmented, like-
well.
Yeah. Well, I've seen the show on like Disney Channel or whatever at some point
Mhm.
or another, and that show is very fucking funny. It's like
yeah.
pretty hip, and it's the best depiction of Mickey in terms of like getting laughs out of me that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've been impressed by it. Another Ghibli film called The Red Turtle. This one has no narration, and it was actually a collaboration with like a Swedish director or something. It's short. It's only like 70 minutes. I liked it a lot. It's fucking beautiful, and I think this is a good recommendation for anyone who has like a mixed cultural family. So yeah, I like that one a lot. I watched a Korean movie called The Witch Subversion Part 1. It's garbage. Don't watch it. It's not spooky. I watched The Iron Claw. Very sad. Very good.
Yeah.
Fucking wrestling. Jesus Christ. Watch another movie called After Sun. Also not quite as sad, on the sadder note, but also really well put together. Another coming of middle age film. Finished True Detective, talked about it with Randy. That's coming in a mini episode at some point. That was pretty solid. I, like Randy, in my kind of like meal time, I've been just kind of watching 20 to 30 minutes of an MCU film. I started with the OG Avengers. Great. Love that one. It's so fun. I also watched Winter Soldier, Shang-Chi, and Guardians of the Galaxy. So starting off pretty strong. Shang-Chi, I think, was the least of those, but still pretty solid. Watched a Korean film that's like a cult classic from 2004 called Save the Green Planet. It held up pretty well. It's really goofy, but also very dark. It's about a guy who kidnaps the CEO of this company and he tortures him because he thinks he's an alien from outer space.
Damn.
It's pretty crazy.
That's the only thing you're allowed to do with aliens.
So, yeah. Another Ghibli film from Up on Poppy Hill. I like this one a lot. It's very pleasant. It's got an amazing soundtrack. Soundtrack really elevated it for me. Like that one. Killing of a Sacred Deer. Watched that one from our boy. Yeah, it was. I've always enjoyed it, and I liked it a lot. What's his name? What's the director's name? Tatopoulos? Not Tatopoulos. He's got a crazy. He's got a crazy name. Yep. Yeah, whatever, that guy. I like that movie. It's super weird, but also unsettling. And then finally, I watched Lisa Frankenstein, which actually I liked pretty good. I mean, not amazing. It's definitely capped, but I got little vibes of kind of Edward Scissorhands.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just I don't know.
Looks that guy. They make him look like Edward Scissorhands, but a Frankenstein. Like that is what his aesthetic is.
It's just, I mean, it's nowhere near as good, of course, as Edward Scissorhands, but just the kind of bright aesthetic, but the dark suburbia kind of thing going on. I thought it was pretty good, and somebody did a mini cast on it. Have we dropped that yet?
Not yet, no.
Oh, I was like, I'm gonna listen to it today, but I guess I can't do that. Okay, so yeah, actually, it's not amazing, but I think I was pleasantly surprised. I kind of went in expecting not to like it that much, and I actually did like it pretty good. So positive for me.
Yeah.
That's all I've been watching. Bob, what you been watching, my guy?
A lot of shit. Monolith. I finally watched that. That was making its festival rounds last year. It's another banger out of Australia. Super small cast. It's basically Lily Sullivan and like maybe a couple hints of some other folks, but she's like the main girl in Evil Dead Rise, and she is this investigative podcaster, and the vast majority of the movie is her looking into a tip. She receives like an anonymous email about this tip, and it's about these weird like black brick things, and she starts digging into it, and the more she finds out, the weirder the movie gets. And it's very slow pace, character driven kind of thing. It's not like super duper horror, so don't go in expecting that necessarily. But I came away pretty impressed with it, actually. I think of the very, very few new releases this year, it's at the top for me. So I do recommend checking it out. It's only on VOD. You have to rent it. I don't think it's streaming anywhere, and I don't think it has a physical release either. So you just have to rent it digitally. But it was like, I think maybe $5. And I think it's worth it. I really liked it. So check that one out, Monolith. I also watched Queen Pins, which is on Netflix. I guess this is based on a true story of this coupon scam that happened. I think it was in the 90s or something. These two ladies found basically like the recycling plant where all these coupons get deposited in Mexico, and they make a deal with some of the workers there to just give them a shitload of coupons, and then they were selling them on a website for like half price, and basically just making money for not really producing anything at all. And they made like millions of dollars off of this scam.
Damn.
It's a decent movie. It's kind of goofy. It was okay. Decent random like Netflix movie. I also watched on HBO Max, or just Max now, I guess. They call him Mostly Harmless. I think you mentioned this, Randy. Didn't you watch that?
I did, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Started off really interesting. It's about this hiker that they found dead in South Florida in his tent, and he was extremely malnourished. I think they say he weighed like maybe 80 pounds at the time he passed away.
You said a
But
tiger?
No, a hiker.
No.
Hiker.
Hiker.
Yeah.
He said, and then when you said a tiger in his tent, and I was like, well, what?
Just a little hiking tiger. They found him dead in his tent. He weighed about 80 pounds at the time he passed, but he was like surrounded by people.
Yeah, okay.
So it was like kind of a mystery. He didn't have any identification on him, no phone, no
Weird.
wallet, no tablet. They couldn't find out who the fuck he was.
Aliens.
And, he is an alien. That's the end of it. That's how
Well,
it
he was
ends.
probably abducted.
They put stuff in his butt and left him to die. That's what happened.
Horny Barbara.
But it starts off really like a very intriguing mystery, but then it gets into the like hiking culture, which is still interesting, but then it gets into like the forums that are formed online to try and like figure out who this guy is. And that shit is kind of depressing. And I wish that there was less of it in this documentary.
Dude, I said the same thing. It's like I do not need a beat for beat retelling of fucking forum drama. That's the last thing in the world I
people
want.
being
That
mean
does
to each
not
other on the
involve the
internet.
person that they're trying to like.
Yeah, it's not what I signed up for here. I don't.
Like,
I'm
this is
sorry,
a stretching.
people are mean to you, but yeah. Oh man, the
Just wait for
documentary-
that movie to come out on the drama of the Straight Chillin' Slack.
Oh,
You know,
oh,
You got to drum some up first, Juice. Get to work.
got to make
yeah,
a movie here.
Get on it, bud. That documentary ended with a big old wet fart for sure.
And Hydraberg sent me some nudies.
Unprompted.
but
a look
well
at this.
received.
Get a look at this philosopher's stone here, buddy.
What a strange person.
Yeah. I also watched a Netflix movie called The Dirt, which is a biopic about Motley Crue.
Oh.
And this was directed by the same guy that does all of the Jackass stuff. I'm blanking on his name
Oh.
now. But that guy.
Johnny
And,
Knoxville.
Jeff Tremaine.
Jeff Tremaine?
Yeah, Jeff Tremaine. Yeah, directed this movie. And I thought he just did Jackass, but it turns out like 95% of what he does is Jackass. He's made a couple other movies. I like this movie. It's a lot of fun. It is fucking ridiculous. Motley Crue are notorious for being like a huge party band. It sort of shows how they came to be, and then they go on tour and get bigger and bigger, and eventually they're opening for Ozzy, and they've got a couple scenes with Ozzy, and he's going fucking ape shit. It's a fun movie. If you even give like a remote shit about Motley Crue, it's pretty fun. I enjoyed that. It is like strangely incredibly fucking sad at the very end. There's a huge dick kick at the very end that I was not prepared for. But I liked it. I also watched a movie called Stillwater on Amazon. I think it's streaming on Amazon. It's a Matt Damon movie. He was somewhat recently on Hot Ones, and he was just talking about movies that he did that he was really proud of. He mentioned Stillwater. I didn't know anything about this movie. So I threw it on. It's pretty good. It's about this guy. He's from Oklahoma. He is a roughneck. He drills for oil wells, and he has a daughter that goes abroad to France to study. And she ends up getting put in jail for allegedly murdering one of her classmates. So he goes over there to visit her, and while he's there, she passes him a note and says that she's got an anonymous tip or whatever about who the actual murderer is, and he like hangs out for a while and tries to like get to the bottom of it, and it's pretty good like drama. It's a straight drama with kind of an interesting story, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't know if it's like my favorite Matt Damon movie necessarily, but it's a good one. It's worth checking out. Something different. I watched Dream Scenario finally.
There you go.
It's a fucking weird movie.
With your boy Nick Cage.
Yes.
With your boy Nick Cage. I don't know what that movie is really getting at yet. I just watched it this afternoon. I don't fucking know what it's about. But
Well, if you want no answers, you can listen to my mini episode.
Nick Cage's performance is amazing in that movie, but he plays like such an insufferable motherfucker. It is so cringy to watch him
Oh no.
I love his
Uh,
performance so much.
It's great. It's super good. There's one moment in the movie that you could probably assume, Randy, where I laughed my fucking ass
Yes,
off.
the entire theater erupted in one scene.
God
the scene.
damn. And it's like so cringy up until that moment. It's such a sweet relief. It's God, you need that
sweetest.
laugh. It is the sweet. You need that laugh. Oh man. Weird movie. Good, worth watching. I watched The Holdovers, which is streaming on Peacock currently, and this was one of the is up for a bunch of Oscars. I think it won some. I'm not really sure. I don't remember. Paul Giamatti is in this. It's about he plays this professor at a really esteemed college, and it's Christmas break, and like everybody goes home for Christmas break except for like a handful of the boys. They just can't go home or whatever. So Paul Giamatti has to like stay behind and look after him. And it takes place in 1970, and the entire movie looks like a movie from 1970. They stylized the whole thing really well. I don't know if it was shot on film. It definitely looks like it, and it looks gorgeous. This movie is beautiful. The opening credit sequences, the needle drops, the slow camera zooms, the framing, it's all just of the fucking 70s in a really interesting way. As I was watching it, I was like, I've seen so many of these moves in Black Christmas. It just kept reminding me of Black Christmas because it takes place at a college, you know,
Yeah.
college kids. It's like it's a drama at its core. It's got some really funny moments. It's got some sad shit. Paul Giamatti kills it. I really liked it. I thought it was a super solid movie. I see why it was an Oscar contender. Worth checking out if you just want a really solid ass movie. Throw that one on. It is.
I'll have to wait till November to watch
Christmas.
that one.
It is a Christmas movie though. So yeah, it's kind of weird to put on now, I guess, but you know, it is what it is. And last but not least, I watched the first episode of that new Mr. and Miss Smith series. It's on Amazon. Donald Glover is the Mr. Smith, and I think he wrote it. I think he wrote it too.
Yeah,
it's a weird property to bring back.
Yeah, it seems a bit random, but I generally enjoy what he does, and the first episode was pretty dang solid.
I wonder if they'll make another Simpsons Treehouse Horror about this new iteration.
That'd be tight.
Every time they release a Mr. and Mrs. Smith, they have to do a Simpsons.
They have to do a Halloween episode.
They gotta do it. It makes perfect sense.
It does. It lines up with the season.
Yeah.
In fairness, that is a franchise that was before like the Brad Pitt shit. Like that. It's been reiterated a few times, right?
I believe it has. Yeah.
So it's just one of those stories that just keeps getting redone, I guess.
Yeah, and it can be anybody because it's about aliases, you know, people doing shit on the sly. So like you can do it over and over again a million times. Like
isn't Maya Erskine in that? Like she's Mrs. Smith, right? Like
I do not
Pen
know.
15?
I would have to go. I've never seen Pen 15. I would have to give it a googe.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Thank you for googing faster than me. But yeah, the first episode's solid. I'm gonna keep watching and see what it's all about. That's it. That's what I've been watching for the past couple weeks, anyways. That's a lot of shit.
Right.
We purged, boys.
We got through it. We didn't get any voicemails this week, but if you are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail for next week, show us you care. You can do so at 904-638-3231. Do you boys have any prompts you want to throw out for next week?
Well, I can't remember what we're covering next week. God damn.
I can tell you. So we're jumping into another Patreon pick. This was chosen by your boy Nader Raid. And the movie is Ticks from 1993.
Ticks. Ooh, I don't know. Actually, I'm going to go into that movie 100% blind because I legit don't know anything about it.
Rip your eyeballs out of your skull.
Don't know anything. So I don't know if it's actually about insects, but
it's about uncontrollable facial movements.
Okay.
It's about a boy with Tourette's syndrome in 1993. Fuck!
Yeah, I don't know. If you could be any kind of bug, what would you want to be?
What's your favorite Sunday? I don't know. Let's just call in. Just call in. Say whatever you want.
call
Just
us.
call
Just
in.
call
We got
us.
no
Tell
calls
me
this
that
week.
you love me.
That's what. That's
Yeah.
really. That's
Yeah.
every week's prompt.
Or else.
Call in and love us.
Tell us what's the best movie you've seen so far this year, horror or otherwise, new releases. What you got? What you seen? What you love? What you
Sure.
loving?
What you loving? What's your Oscar picks for this year? Because it's
2 months in.
well, it's like no, I mean because the Academy Awards are next week while we're
Oh, are they?
recording.
Oh, okay, yeah, call in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's some, there's some big ones.
Good
So,
job, Randy.
but you're
Yeah.
there's still I haven't seen the holdovers, the fall Anatomy of a Fall. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Yeah,
that
I want
either.
to see that one. That's French, I think. Man, it's a very French day.
I'm French.
We. Yeah, call in 904-638-3231.
Man.
Who's gonna win the Oscars? All of them. Who's gonna take them all?
I
Who
got
won
the
that?
Oscar fever. Sorry.
I wonder if Fangoria is doing their
Chainsaw
Chainsaw Awards again.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I forgot we did a stream
A watch
of that
party
last
for
year.
that.
Yeah. Mhm.
I haven't heard anything about it. Yeah, I hope they do. It aired on Shudder the past 2 years, and
Okay.
pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. I hope they do it again.
Yeah. We
see.
we got 10 movies up. I've heard a lot of people shit on this Bradley Cooper film. Is it Maestro?
Maestro.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet.
Anatomy of a Fall, I haven't seen. Neon, I'll release that one. Barbie, Zone of Interest, Killers of the Flower Moon. Who that movie, Jesus Christ, is so long.
I need to. I would
Still haven't
love to
seen it.
watch it, but it is so
It's so
fucking
long. American Fiction, holdovers.
That movie
Ooh,
is great.
Poor Things is woo woo.
Mhm.
That's the closest thing
Heyo.
to horror we got on there.
Which is pretty damn
And then
close.
Oppenheimer, yeah.
That might
Past
be the
Lives was
closest thing
really
to horror.
good. I like Past Lives a lot.
I'm gonna watch that. Yeah.
I haven't watched that one yet
A24
either.
has 2 movies up, Past Lives and Zone of Interest, where A24
Man.
apparently.
Nice.
Good for them. You know what they
Yeah.
should do is start doing intellectual properties only. That seems like the move, right?
What?
Do the Blumhouse
Since they're doing so
thing
well
where
at the
like,
fucking Oscars, let's
fuck
just
it, let's make
let's just fuck
Exorcist
that.
again.
yeah.
Do it again.
Let's spend $500 million on this Exorcist movie. Fuck it.
We can't fail.
Anyway, call in 904-638-3231. And hell, even if you want to chime in on what would win like the metaphorical Chainsaw Awards, should they be happening, let us know that too. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's gonna do it for us this week. Next week we're watching Ticks from 1993. Slam your eyeballs into it. Get ready for next
Dicks.
week's show. Dicks the movie from 1993. Watch all the Dicks from 93.
There is a
if you
Dix the musical that just
Yeah,
dropped
there is.
recently. So.
Don't be
That's
confused.
what we're covering.
Dicks
That's it.
the musical. If you want to find us on social media, just search Straight Chilling Podcast and we'll pop up anywhere. If you want to join our Slack channel, find us on one of those social media outlets and let us know you want to join, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. We talk about the movie of the week, talk about TV shows, video games, trade recipes, talk about our cats and dogs and all kinds of cool shit. Join in on the fun. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Now go away or I shall taunt you a second time.